Rob Ford is the only circus in town as far as Toronto politics go, you'd be mistaken. There are plenty of candidates that many might call unconventional in the race for mayor of that city, including our next guest, Matt Mernagh. He joins us from our Toronto studio. Welcome to Battleground.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So what is your campaign? What is it that you bring to the race for mayor of Toronto that you think should put you into the mayor's chair?
Well, I know I connect with the disenfranchised voter, the voter that doesn't necessarily get to the poll every election. And a lot of the people that have suggested that I do run for mayor, a lot of them were not civically minded, engaged people, and I find now that they are. They've become very civically engaged, and I feel my candidacy will capitalize on that engagement.
Now, I know that you have been and still are a marijuana activist of sorts, and as I've looked on your website, I've seen a whole lot about marijuana. I haven't seen anything really about any of the civic issues in Toronto. So what experience do you have perhaps in dealing with some of those civic issues that you think you could bring to the table?
Well, I clearly spoke on my website most recently about the Ford family and how they went after marijuana growers in our city. The Ford, when he was he wasn't a mayor, he was a city councilor on the Licensing and Standard Committee, and he went after marijuana growers. I was at that meeting and I spoke out on behalf of the marijuana community at that meeting. There was nobody else from the marijuana community there. So we definitely have spoke on that issue, and I do believe that there is a funding shortfall between the province and the city. I've read up on that. I have a strong team of people behind me that have put campaigns together and have provided advice on what to do. And for the last 6 months to a year, I have been focused on civic issues. And though I do not write about them, and my focus is on the marijuana issue for my career and for my writing, I believe that these skills are transferable to the mayor's office.
But the question, though, is, I mean, you've the one civic issue that you seem to have been involved in is licensing of marijuana growers, perhaps, and that's a whole big kettle of fish that involves several governments, not just the civic government. But is that the issue that you think is going to drive voters to the polls? Is that what people in Toronto are really talking about today after an ice storm, after the transit troubles, after the big debate about subways? I can name a whole host of issues, and legalizing marijuana doesn't really come near to the top of the list. At least as far as a municipal campaign goes.
I would agree to you to an extent. The City of Toronto is looking into vapor lounge licensing and bylaw on that front too. So the city is engaged in municipally on the marijuana front. I agree with you on the ice storm. I rode the Dufferin bus today. Anybody who rides the Dufferin bus, they can tell you a great deal about transit because it's not really referred to as the Dufferin bus. It's referred to as the Suffering bus. I ride that bus almost daily, and I can talk to you about transit. I have read Karen Stintz's proposal. I have read a lot of the city proposals. And I can pick and choose because I'm not politically connected to any of the establishment.
When will you be releasing a platform?
February, we begin releasing our platform. The first platform policy my team and I have begun looking into is indeed that provincial shortfall between getting money out of the province for our city to live. We can't have the property taxpayers of our city expecting to fund a major, beautiful mega city and get no money from the province when the reality is we shovel a great deal of money into the provincial coffers.
Why is it that Toronto shouldn't pay for Toronto's projects?
Well, Toronto should pay for some of its projects, but economically, this city produces and gives more money to the province than comes back. And what I would suggest is that there is a funding shortfall here. Yes, Rob Ford has some great ideas, but at the end of the day, our city is hampered by Queen's Park.
What do you mean hampered by Queen's Park? I mean, in what way?
Well, we're hampered financially. Our mega city, and if you compare Montreal and Vancouver, some of these other cities are well funded by their province, and here in Toronto, we just are not.
Because, and the question then becomes, why do residents of Ottawa and South Glengarry and Sudbury and Kingston and Kitchener and Windsor need to pay for Toronto?
Well, they wouldn't be paying for Toronto. In fact, that's not true at all. The residents of Toronto pay quite a bit to these other cities. We are the economic powerhouse here. We are financially funneling money into Queen's Park that is then distributed to these other cities that you just mentioned. And I'm not pitting cities against cities. I'm just saying that as a citizen and resident of Toronto, I recognize that our funding formula between the province and the city is greatly shortfalled, and that the property taxes are just never going to fix this problem.
All right, Matt, we'll have to end it there, but where's your website? Where can people go to find out more about
right
it?
now, Mernagh.ca, and my team are currently working on a new mayoral website.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.